related, though. I'm not related.
Is that just a very, very, very common name, assume, or are you related to the famous Mubarak?
Well, you know what? Maybe 30 years ago it would have been cool to say that, but not over the last decade or so.
That's hardly your fault.
Where are you from?
So my mother's Cuban and my father's Arabic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you're in you said you're in New York, right?
I'm in New York. Yeah.
Okay.
Man, I appreciate getting the invite, man. You guys are guys I used to watch coming up in the magazines, man. It's incredible to be on the air with you guys.
Yeah, we're missing a couple, but yeah, man, we got some good ones. So
yeah,
it's nice talking.
Fakhri, how old are you?
I am gonna turn 50 in September.
Wow,
man, you look great.
Yeah.
God bless your heart, man.
God bless your heart. You look great.
Hey, let me ask you.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered the Masters Olympia? Have you thought about it?
So here's my thing. I have a very addictive personality. So if I was to come back, I would go full blown back out. You know, I'd be like 250, 260 again. You know, I mean, I at my peak, at my heaviest, I was 5'5", 284 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a big guy, man. I didn't compete much. The highest I competed was 215, but I was like 2005. I kept bodybuilding until like 2018, but I was at my biggest and at my peak at around 2018 at 44.
Was that your last show? Was that your?
No, so my last show was 2009 New York Pro.
Okay.
That was my last show. So I turned pro in 4 shows. I turned pro with Phil Heath. So in 2005 at the USA, it was me and Phil that turned pro.
Right. I remember that show.
Yeah.
So I assume, I mean, I was just few years, 2003, 4, 5, 6, where other than the Olympia, I was kind of the only time I turned my back to bodybuilding a little bit, because I just kind of retired and didn't care for a little while, just for a little while. So Phil won the light heavyweight or the heavyweight? In which class did you win?
So Phil won the heavyweight class and I won the light heavyweight class.
So then in the overall, I mean, assuming he won, but you look pretty good here. So did you have any shot at the overall?
I think so. I think so. I mean, I looked pretty good. I know I was probably the hardest guy in the show, you know, but you know what? People ask me that question all the time, and I don't like to answer it because Phil's one of the greatest of all time. You know what I'm saying? So I can't compare myself to him at all.
Well, I went to his pro debut. When was your pro debut?
So in 2005, we turned pro, and his pro debut was 2006 at Colorado.
That's
I was
when
supposed
I
to do that show.
Yeah.
Yes, that was his first show. And then his next show was New York Pro, 2005. But something happened economically with my family, so I couldn't compete for a few years. And that's pretty much what took me out of like competition. I had to focus more on business and my family than anything else. I kept bodybuilding, you know, but it was just I couldn't sacrifice. I'm very OCD, you know, so like everything I do has to be like, it has to be perfect, right? And I just didn't get it on stage because I couldn't be perfect, even though you know, people call me like the Spanish or white Victor Richards, you know, because I had that type of size at my weight, you know, and I was strong. I was one of the strongest pound for pound bodybuilders they were, but just didn't get the opportunity to get on stage. And you know, I'll regret it for the rest of my life because you guys accomplished things that I'll regret never to accomplish, you know.
Yeah, but speaking of accomplishments, I'm looking at your Instagram page here. I would like to ask you a little bit about this. This is incredible, your resume here.
Right.
So, what are your best athletes? So, meaning turning pro. Which ones do we know?
So, well, I would say the best. You know what? I don't want to get anybody mad, right?
Yeah.
Justin Compton was probably my best potential bodybuilder, and I believe Justin had the ability to win.
Oh, he was unbelievable.
Incredible.
Yeah,
he was incredible.
Incredible physique.
Yeah, he did. He was.
Yeah, I mean, he you know, and there's a few others, but I think Compton was the one that had the ability to. I mean, he did well. You know, he did well. He did very well. He placed well at the Arnold one year, but he was probably the best potential one that I had.
So when you have so many athletes, how many athletes do you have right now?
So at one point in 2008 is when I really started, is when I became a coach, right? So I've been coaching and helping people since AOL chat days. So this is like 1990s and stuff, you know, but in 2000, so I got my pro card in 2005. And then, you know, me and my family went through some really bad economical times, and that kept me away from the sport, you know, not bodybuilding, but like I said, you know, not competing. And in 2008, I went on MySpace and I said, yeah, you know, I'm going to start helping people. And I put some people I helped. And that's when I officially started the business. So between 2008, 2012, 13, I used to carry like 250 clients at a time.
Wow.
So how do you handle that? You know, I mean, if a lot of them are competing, I mean, you can't possibly go all the shows. Just, I mean, first of all, how do they find you, or is it just word of mouth at this point where you just have a ton of people to choose from?
At that time, I was still fresh off the USA title. You guys have to remember, like, so when I turned pro, it was my 4th show. So only the people in New York really knew who I was. So when I turned pro in Vegas, they were like, who's this Arab guy? Does he have his US citizenship? You know, nobody knew my name. So, you know, after the USAs, I did photo shoots with Weeder, Muscular Development. I had contracts too. So that put me in the scene and in front of people, you know, and that's how I built my business. And, you know, I just started winning right away. I mean, I have over 3,000 NPC wins, you know, so it started flooding, and it became, I mean, I developed a pretty big coaching business. I mean, and from there, you know, we were able to expand into other businesses. I've owned McDonald's, gas stations, you know, so we built a lot just from coaching and from bodybuilding.
Wow.
So when I have a few athletes, you know, I mean, athletes is not my main focus, but when I have a few athletes, so last year I went to the USA with 3 athletes. So after a weekend like that, I am totally freaking exhausted, you know. I mean, I don't know, maybe you can help me what I'm doing wrong here, but, you know, I check in with them like when they wake up at 4 a.m., then pretty much after every meal, I go from room to room, or they come to my room. Yeah. When they're on stage, this is absolutely killing me, you know. I mean, it's just like freaking nerve-wracking. So how you get through a weekend like that when you have like more athletes than that? I wouldn't even know how to handle it.
So my biggest, so between like 2008 to let's say 2014, I would usually take anywhere between 17 to 20 clients, internationals, into USAs, into North American. And yeah, you're right. The morning would start at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I would give everybody 15 minutes, right? So they would come into the room, and I had to give them 15 minutes because, you know, I'm there to coach them. But when the first one left, I would look in the hallway, and there would be like 4 or 5 people already sitting in the hallway, you know. So and then like, you know, Mr. Fuchs said, you know, when you see the last one, the first one's coming back already. You know,
absolutely.
So those days was totally exhausting.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot.
Wow.
So
it is, man.
When it comes to protocol, you know, for the last week, you know, so do you have kind of like of course, some kind of base protocol in place, but then it's kind of individual for each one. You kind of make decisions like, you know, the last few days from meal to meal, or you just kind of let it go? How do you do that in the last few days?
No, I mean, you guys competed at the highest level, and you guys know that none of your preps were exactly the same, right?
Exactly.
We all, you know, we couldn't say, well, you know what, let's write down on a piece of paper what we're gonna do for the last week and follow the same program, because it doesn't work that way. So yeah, the meals will be different. The last week is the hardest. The last 2 weeks is the hardest week. The hardest 2 weeks, because it's pretty much send me your weight in the morning, just see what you're gonna eat. Send me your weight at nighttime and see where you're at. You know, the guys are a little bit easier because they don't fluctuate that much. You know, if you do the right job, they're already gonna be somewhat in good condition 2 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
The girls are usually the problem because the metabolisms move a lot faster. So like a bikini girl could go from like looking really good to like getting skinny, you know, and that's usually where, you know, the eyes, you know, play a big part, because anybody can coach, right? Everybody's a coach. There's like 10,000 coaches coming out every single day.
Well, they think
You
they
know?
can coach. Yeah.
Yeah, so they think they can
Right.
coach, but you know, at the end of the day, is the numbers in the resume, right? If you see somebody who's accomplished, then you know that person's been doing it for a long time. So yeah, no preps are the same. It's not easy. Coaching is not easy. Everybody wants to coach, and everybody wants to make money, but you know, you have to do it ethically first, and you have to be ethically and morally correct when coaching, because you know their whole lives and their health are being in your hands. So that's first and foremost. You know, and then second of all, they're relying on you to bring the very, very best. So yeah, everything is personalized. Has to be. I can't do no other. I'm OCD. So like, you know the movie Rain Man?
Yeah.
So I'm like Rain Man. I'm like Rain Man plus RoboCop on Anadrol on Adderall. You know, how focused I am. I said Anadrol, right?
Yeah.
Throwing some Anadrol to plug it.
So, and I have more bikini girls at this point and wellness girls than guys. So I need help. I need your help. So what is it with bikini girls who have no problems during the prep going to the bathroom, chronically not be able to go to the bathroom once we arrive at the place of the competition? Or is it just me, my girls? What the hell is going on with that?
No, that's a common problem. So and it's a common problem from guys too. So, you know, what happens there is usually the water. We need water to pass the nutrients through our bodies, right? You know, carbohydrates hold water as well. So we have to. So what I do is I keep them. I sometimes water load them starting like Sunday, Monday before the show, like a week out, 5 to 6 days out. And I'll keep the water high. I don't really myself, the way I used to diet and I used to dry out was the way Momo did. Right. So when Momo passed away, one of my friends knew Porter Control, and you know, I got the whole thing in my head. So I used to dry out that way, which you guys know is not, you know, it's pretty dangerous. But with athletes, you know, the problem with going to the bathroom has to do with a lot with water, keeping it fiber. Also, you know, people don't like to eat vegetables, right? They start taking them out because there's too much protein and carbohydrates, and they skip the vegetables. So it's just a balanced diet. But the water is the main thing. The water is what keeps them, you know, I guess, constipated. If you want to.
So you pretty much don't cut water till the night before, or in general, you know, how you do that?
Yeah. So it depends from client to client. If you're already good a week out, and it's just bringing you into the show, you know, just why change anything, right? We just have to change a little bit. I think a lot. You know what happens to a lot of people is they have a mindset that, you know, there's more magic. We have to do more magic, right? So, you know, if they're drying out naturally, let's add aldactone. You know, if that's working, let's do diazide. You know, let's do blah blah blah, and they keep adding more and more and more. But if a person's already ready, you know, let nature take its course, because naturally they are going to dry out just by reducing the water very little. And I think what happens is people try to do too much towards the end, and that's what screws a lot of people up.
Right. Too many last minute changes, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I told the story here before. I have somewhat of a funny story how I started to figure out the whole water thing. You know, because personally in my career, I never figured it out. You know, not even my last show. So in one of the Olympias, I went backstage. So the last 2 or 3 days, I heavily restricted the water. It's kind of was a tip Nasser gave me. Nasser pretty much didn't drink any water for 3 days. If he told me the truth, we all know with Nasser it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah,
I know.
You know, so I heavily reduced the water, and I also cut the salt. And I think the diuretics I took not even worked. And often we had diuretic tests, I couldn't take any. So the last day or two, I hardly peed, or just less and less. And at the end, it was more of a dribbling, you know. So I was half an hour out to a show, or maybe an hour out, and I went backstage to pee. So I kind of shook my whole pee out of me, you know, a little dribble here or there. And I heard somebody coming in and going to the stall next to me. And the guy peed like a freaking cow. You know, I mean, it was just freaking insane. So I thought, well, don't tell me this is a freaking athlete, you know?
Yeah.
So I went out and was waiting. And who's walking out of the stall? Dorian. You know, what the hell? They must do something different from me. You know? After 98, 97, when he tore the triceps before the Olympia, I had a chance to do a few guest posings for him. And I asked him, you know, during the guest posings, he came to speak. I was doing the guest posings. Said, look, I don't know if you will tell me or not, but something is very different from how we do things, you know. So he told me that he pretty much doesn't restrict water at all, other than maybe midnight the night before. I couldn't believe what a freaking idiot I was for so many years. You know, you look good, and then why change all that the day before the show? Yeah. But it was too late for me. I ran out of steam, and I didn't really compete successfully more after that. But yeah, that's kind of I learned in a stall backstage. You know, don't reduce the water this much. Yeah. So yeah. Hey, do you have any? Go ahead.
Since we're talking about that, so another thing with drying out, right? We have a hormone called aldosterone. So aldosterone is a hormone that makes you retain water and salt, right? Mm-hmm. So there's like aldactone to me is not a diuretic. Aldactone to me is more of a hormone blocker because aldactone blocks aldosterone. So what I do is with the aldactone, I can start the aldactone and still have the clients drink water and have sodium. I never cut sodium. I never ever cut sodium all the way. I have it all the way through the show. You know, so with the aldactone, you're allowed, you know, you're able to drink water and have the sodium because you're taking the aldactone to release your body from it. So it won't hold anything. So whatever you take it in, is take it in for that time, and then it releases it. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's another thing that people don't do. They, you know, everybody wants to do the strongest possible, you know, drugs possible, and that's not always the right thing.
So you have just the same amount of sodium through the diet all the way up to the show. Yeah.
Always. Yeah. I never take out sodium. I have in very, very, I mean, I can't say ever, but in very few occasions I've taken out the sodium.
What would be such a case?
If it's the opposite, right? So let's say somebody's holding, well, usually, you know, so if it's the opposite, right? It's because they're cheating and they're drinking and you know, and everything else is going on. And you know, like, you know, you guys have more experience than I do. Like, you know, when somebody's cheating in line, right? So you might do the opposite just for like a couple of days just to test it out. And if the body starts depleting, you know, with more sodium, if we start going above 2,000 milligrams of sodium, 2,500 milligrams of sodium, and they start releasing water, then you know, like they haven't been really dieting, they've been cheating, even if it's something small. So usually, you know, the opposite would be, if the factor that we're doing is not really working, if it's, you know, not the protocol, but what I usually think is going to work, right? You know, the idea of us releasing water. If I do the opposite and it works, that's usually how I catch people. You know, so I would sometimes take out sodium. Mm-hmm. And when you take out the sodium, you're going to drop weight, but you're going to drop weight, right? But what's also going to happen is you need sodium in your body and you need water in your body. So even though you're dropping weight, you'll start flattening out because the sodium is a transport nutrient. So you need the sodium in there to transport, you know, the food. So even if you reduce the water, the sodium as a transporter of the glycogen, which is more important to fill it up, as well as the protein.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think was hurting? I mean, knock on wood, we haven't had anybody really lately, but the bodybuilders that have passed, do you think it's something to do with the sodium, or is it strictly the diuretics, or what?
I mean, you know, I have my own show, and today me and Ron Harris are talking about it. Mm-hmm. People talk about, you know, how much aldactone somebody's taking, you know, 100 milligrams, 150 milligrams. And you know, a couple of females have passed away over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. But what people don't realize is something like aldactone is used for acne because it blocks androgen. So, you know, since it blocks androgen, it blocks the skin from coming up from the pores. Okay. So dermatologists use aldactone at 100 milligrams per day, 200 milligrams per day, 250 milligrams per day. And mm-hmm. they'll run that. You know, the dermatologist will run that with the patient for like 2, 3, 4 months. Mm-hmm. So it's not that, as far as like the females that have passed away over the last couple of years, which they've blamed that. I think it's a matter of blocking, you know, of using that much aldactone, even if it's 50 to 100 milligrams for a month, which is safe, right? According to the way the dermatologists run it. Mm-hmm. When you do that, remember you're blocking water and you're blocking sodium from being absorbed because you're blocking aldosterone. But you're not taking in sodium. and then on top of that, you're doing other diuretics,
Mhm.
which causes, potassium issues, which could lead to heart attacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think it's if people just not taking care of themselves and not running blood work, right? I mean, if you run blood work, that's pretty much, shows you what's going on in your body. And
Yeah, show some red flags. Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. I used to run blood work every 4 months myself, every 4 months, no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. We have a doctor that comes on here usually once or twice a year. So, maybe a little bit more, but we talk about all that stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Very important.
Are you doing one-on-one training too, or is it all just contest prep?
Yeah, so I train with my clients. Occasionally, I train with them more now because I'm for some reason, you guys mentioned the Masters, but I'm not doing the Masters. But I started training more serious. But no, I don't do one-on-one training. Like I'll go train with my clients, but I'll never charge my clients that are prepping clients.
When you do it, you do it at Steve Weinberger's gym?
I train, yeah, because I live like 15 minutes away from Bev, so I live in Westbury.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I was there this morning.
Are you training Vinny Galante for the Masters?
Yeah, man, I'm excited about that, man. I'm excited. So we started working together about 4 weeks ago. We didn't announce it, but yeah, I'm excited, man. Vinny was like you guys, like when I was young.
I say, how old is he?
Vinny's like 56, I think. 50.
Wow.
55.
He won the Nationals, the overall. What year was that?
It took Vinny like 18 years to turn pro. I forgot what year it was. It was after he turned pro after I turned pro. So I turned pro in 2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
I think he also won the Mr. USA title overall too. No, he won his class. Because I know you wanted the overall, and at that time they didn't give the pro cards to you guys, right?
Well, the year I won the Nationals, they didn't. In '86.
National.
85. I got no pro card because I went to the World Championships and took second, and didn't get a pro card for 3 years after that.
Wow.
Jesus Christ, man, that's insane, right? How many pro cards you give away?
And won the '84 USA overall the year before.
And no pro card.
No pro. Oh no, that happened in '86.
Oh my Lord.
Well, actually, I'll go back. That happened in '85 when Dave Talk won, but he won the World Games. Then it entitled him to go pro.
Oh my God.
Now, Max Charles, he was with you when he turned pro?
Yeah. So I that year I had Max Charles and Hanika. So Hanika won the overall bikini. She turned pro. And then Max won the overall bodybuilding. He turned pro.
Yeah. Max is still doing pretty good.
I think he's doing Masters. He's doing the Masters Olympia.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw his name on the list.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that list quickly here. I mean, I have some more questions about training and so I'm interested in, but I don't know if I'm not at the best level of knowledge who all those people are, but I don't know how you guys felt. I was a little bit disappointed when I saw this list.
Yeah, especially in the open class. I didn't see a lot on there that really.
How do you feel about that, Fakhri?
I think it's the amount of money. I mean, first of all,
Right.
it costs. So a lot of those athletes are United States athletes, right? And they're based in the U.S. North America, they're based in the U.S. And just flying over to Romania is expensive. Flying over to Europe is expensive. So they have to cover their flights. They have to cover their hotels. They have to cover everything.
So they don't pay for that, huh?
No.
Flight and hotel.
Nope. They didn't pay for any of that. And then
Wow.
I'm not sure how much the prize money. Have they announced the prize money?
It's 10,000 first place.
Oh my God.
That's terrible.
I think the open is 20,000, Phil.
Really?
Yeah, it's 10. All the other classes are 10,000. If I remember
I read that
correctly.
wrong. I read that wrong.
I'm looking for it now.
I don't know if you guys saw the list. I mean, there's one guy I'm really excited about, and that's Lenartovic, Australian guy. I mean, I'm concerned that he was so long away that he's not going to be what he was. But if he's in his best shape, I don't see anybody be able to beat him. How you guys see that?
You got Kamal.
Kamal, yes.
Also active.
Oh,
So,
right.
Why is Kamal not winning? And he would 100%, I believe, win the 212. Why is he going for the open here?
The 20,000.
Yeah. All right. You answered the question.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Right.
And there is Max Charles. You know, I like him. He's
Max
great.
Yeah.
Philip Clohar. I hope I say that. You know, he's great.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much Galanti. This is the guy you mentioned. He's good. Fred Smalls. That's a name I'm familiar with.
Right.
Oh, Fred is doing a show too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Freddie's
Oh,
doing it.
very cool. Very cool. Fred is a good bodybuilder. I mean, that's what he breaks down.
What's his name? Henry. Yeah,
David Henry's doing it.
David Henry's
Oh,
doing
in
it.
the 212, I have the list here. David Henry, yeah, he's great. And Derek Farnsworth is coming back. I didn't see him compete in years.
Right.
And that's pretty much, unfortunately, it is with what I know of those guys here. The figure, what I remember, I don't know how much you guys are into figure, that's pretty strong from what I've seen. And do you have figure girls?
Yeah, I try. Yeah, I prep all different classes. Yeah, my first pro was a figure competitor, Carolina Hernandez.
Yeah, my first girl was a fitness competitor. I mean, we didn't have figure back then.
That was my second one. My second one, her name was Cara Finer. She won right after Carolina Hernandez. It was the same show.
Yeah. You know, for some reason, I'm very unlucky with the guy or the girls that turn pro. You know, they just usually don't have it or lose interest in really competing on pro level. I remember the very first girl I turned pro, her name was Corinne Scheuber, 1997 in Czechoslovakia or Slovakia. They had two class winners. The other one was Temea Majarova. I don't know if you guys remember. She became a legend in the fitness world.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Karin won the short class and Timea the tall class. After the show, I talked to Karin and said, so now we're going for Miss Olympia. And she's like, no, I'm done. I just wanted to see if I can do it. Like, oh, God. So, yeah.
It's an accomplishment. It is an accomplishment.
No, absolutely it is. And I remember with 60 girls on stage and mine was just in the middle, like, you know, looking like from a different planet. So I remember my first, and then, you know, back then, fitness, what was it called, was difficult because you had to do this routine, you know, so a lot of girls couldn't move. So it was quite sometimes, you know, you had a brilliant girl with a gymnastic background, and the next one was, you know, on stage, kind of on all her four, like, you know, rolling around like a stripper. So, yeah, pretty much everything there, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was.
I actually like the fitness, you know, competitions. I think it showed out of all the classes, it showed the most athleticism, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, the amount of just the level of injuries those girls have, the amount of training, you know, I mean, we hired a choreographer to do this, you know, it's absolutely incredible. But when it comes to training, I have a question to you. Do you have any wellness girls?
This year is my first year having I have 4 this year that I'm pregnant.
Yeah. So I'm an absolutely huge fan of wellness. I came across wellness long before it was part of our federation. You know, I attended the Amateur Olympia in Medellin, Colombia, but that was under the IFBB Elite League. And every class had 50, 60 girls. Was absolutely incredible. So I have a question about the training of wellness girls. You know, back in our days, and correct me if I'm wrong, we were always very concerned, or what we knew about training is, you know, you can only train each body part like once a week, maybe twice a week. You're going to overtrain, you know. And now when you look at the wellness girls, they pretty much prove that that's not true. You know, they keep attacking those legs. I mean, I know sometimes you focus a little bit more on hamstrings and glutes and otherwise, but I've seen in South America some of the top wellness girls attacking those legs 3 times a week. And the abs are growing. So you think it's because of like recovery peptides, because of just the genetics they have, or why is that they pretty much violate that rule so badly and grow?
I think it definitely has to do with genetics, right? If we look at the history of bodybuilding and all these classes right now, right? So we always had classical physique guys, right? Those were the smaller bodybuilders. Then we had you know, physique guys. Those were the guys that couldn't build the amount of muscle to become bodybuilders because there was only bodybuilders. Now, if you look at wellness competitors, you know, once they started adding figure, you know, a lot of girls started doing figure, but their legs are too big, their glutes are too big, you know. And then when they started adding bikini, you saw it even more because now, you know, it was more of a bikini thing. So a lot of girls jumped in there that had bigger glutes and bigger legs. So I just think, you know, everybody is different, right? Everybody cannot say, well, you know what, I want to be like you. I want to be 280 pounds on stage. It's impossible, right? Or I want to be like Phil. You know, you just can't do it. So it's just a lot of what fitness, a lot of what wellness is genetics, because not everybody could build that type of physique no matter what. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
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 And then to answer the training question is, if you have a strong body part and that's basically what you're focusing on, you're only training 3 or 4 times a week. So you do have enough rest because that's the only body part you're training. So your central nervous system is not getting disturbed, you know, training 5 times a week, you know, like it would for like a bodybuilder, like
Absolutely.
we used to, you know?
Yeah.
How did you do it back in the days? How did you a workout split of you look like?
So I trained with Mike Menzer for three summers and 3 winters.
There you go.
And in the
Okay,
early 90s.
let me interrupt you right there. You know,
So you got him going. You got him going now.
What's the myth? What's the truth? You know, with his philosophy. Please tell us.
So I started lifting when I was 19. When I was 16. So I was natural from 16 to 26. I was natural my first 10 years.
Wow.
I started training with Mike. I competed in the ADFPA powerlifting. You know, I was already totaling like over 1,800 pounds as a natural powerlifter in the 90 kilos. So when I went to train with Mike, I was strong already. So his whole entire system was, Mike got. Me and Mike argued all the time, by the way, and he kicked me out of the gym like every single day. Like, first, he was like, "Get out of here! I don't want to speak to you no more." But Mike, get out of here! You know, you guys know how Mike was. So Mike's philosophy works, but the way I changed it is, if I squatted 500 pounds, you know, and Dorian could attest to this as well. The stronger you are, the more warm-up sets you need, right?
Right.
So for something like biceps or like side lateral raises, yes, you could get away with 1 warm-up set, maybe 2. But like a power movement, like a squat, bench press, anything that's a compound movement, anything that's a compound movement, and you put the more strength into, you need more warm-up sets. You know, and that was Mike's thing with me all the time. He was like, "You don't need that much." I'm like, "But Mike, I'm squatting 500. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm benching 4 or 5, so I need those warm-up sets. You know." But yeah, Mike was very strict with the sets.
So
yeah, super. And then what happened with Mike? You know, I have 2 masters in psychology. I have a master's in psychology and I have a master's in secondary education. So I'm able to read people very well. Since Mike had to defend himself so much against the industry, because the industry was more about volume, being in the gym for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, his mindset started getting further away. So instead of training like every other day, it became like every 3rd day, and then became every 4th day. And that's when people started criticizing him even more. But Mike did that because he had to defend himself, you know, and then he had to, you know, he had to say, you know what, there is a differential in the training, but progressive overload is the way I trained. And from 16 to 44 years old, for those 28 straight years, I got bigger and I got stronger. So nobody could tell me that progressive overload does not work. It 100% works.
Right.
So a front thigh workout could really have looked like, you know, 3-4 warm-up sets. Then you, once you're at the 500 pounds, you do 1 set, totally burnout, and that's it.
Yeah. There's 1 working set. So everything up to the working set was a warm-up set. So let's say it was a 500-pound set. So that set will go up to 500 pounds until I got up to 12, right? Once I got that 500 pounds to 12, then the next week would be whatever, 505 or 510, to try to get that down to like 8 to 9 to 10. And then once you get that to 12, you move up and up. And you know, the people that argue this are going to say, well, you can't always get stronger. It's impossible. At one point you have to stop. At one point your strength has to stop. I disagree, because if you're going up, even if you go up by 1 pound or 1 rep per week, you know, that's making progress.
Right.
And the more you stimulate the muscle, the more the muscle's gonna grow. Hence the reason we grow we grow when we start working out so much, because we're putting stress on our bodies. Our body's not used to, so our body starts developing muscle. So to me, muscle is the defense to the trauma you're giving the body, right? As far as lifting weights. So the more weight you lift, the more muscle you grow.
Mhm.
And it worked. I mean, it worked for 28 straight years. So, and I have my clients doing it. And not only that, though, but I had friends training with me for like 20 years, and they all got stronger and bigger as well.
I got a quick question. How did you hook up with Mike? How did you train with him?
So when I started training, you know, my cousin's bodybuilder when I was younger. One is a heart surgeon now. His name is Henry Diaz.
Uh-huh.
He's in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. You can look. I mean, the guy's he's like one of the best heart surgeons on this side of the world. He bodybuilds, and when I was a kid, they used to send me down to Florida, and instead of going to Disney World, I would go to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, they wouldn't take me to Disney World. So
Yeah.
I grew up in the gym. I mean, I grew up in the gym when I was like 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
And I remember Eddie Robinson was giving a seminar in Florida, and he was talking out, and I'm looking at Eddie Robinson. And after the seminar, I go up to him. I said, "Excuse me, do you take any anti-estrogens?" And he looks at me, and my cousin turned my ear. And then he obviously goes, "Why would you ask me that question?" I mean, because you look really big, but you look kind of like bloated and watery. I was like 11 years old when I said that.
Uh-huh.
So that's how much, you know. I mean, I'm 49, so I've been involved. I've been in bodybuilding for like 38 years. This is what I love to do, man.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Let me mention, I trained with Mike when I was 18, right? He came to George Turner's gym in St. Louis, Missouri, and he stayed there after the seminar for about a week to 10 days. And I worked with him and he worked with me. And then we got to know each other as friends. And in 81, Ray Minter was my workout partner for 6 months.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Mike died young, didn't he? He was like 50, right?
50, 49 or 50.
Yeah.
And then Ray died like a week or two later, right?
No, 3 days.
Yeah, a couple days, I think.
3 days later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the night before Mike died, he made a video with my friend Marcus Reinhardt.
Right.
And,
yes.
Yeah, and I saw that video, and I think he died that night.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So yeah, very, very sad.
Yeah.
Hey,
Ray had a disease though, right? What did Ray have? Ray had something.
Ray had kidney. He was doing dialysis.
Oh, he was already.
And I think he stopped.
He had Berger's disease.
Exactly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Said he died 2 days later after
2 or 3 days later. Yeah.
After Mike died, 2 days later.
Now, a lot of people think that was suicide.
I mean, yeah, if you think about it, your big brother passed away, and I mean, if you stop, if you stop dialysis, I mean, you have anywhere. You're very limited on how long you're gonna live after dialysis. You have no kidney function, right?
Well, it says Mike was found in his apartment.
Mike,
yeah, he had a heart attack, right?
Heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heart attack for the most part.
Yeah. Now, did he run? Do you think he ran a lot of gear, or?
I can tell you what it was because I knew both of them well.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, it was amphetamines.
Yeah, he looked a little sweaty on the video. Yeah. I think he did a lot of coke. So
you know, it wasn't that. I can tell you exactly what it was. And they're both friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And Casey Beater also. It was called ICE back in the early 80s.
Yes.
They now call it methamphetamine.
Yes.
Well, that's ICE has made a comeback. So
yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Casey gave me a line. I was at work. I'm working in a parking lot in Santa Monica. The place was called Chalmers Market. And Ray goes, "Hey, Phil, how you doing?" I say, "Hey, Ray." I mean, not Ray, but Casey. And me and Casey talked for a while. And he said, "Oh, hey, try this and tell me what you think." I tried it, and I was up for 3 days.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Literally.
Hey, Phil, did you have a good workout though, or what?
Oh, I did. And I wondered how they trained so hard. I mean, that fury and that intensity. And that may have been part of it.
That's insane. I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, even the years I was with Mike, those, you know, those 3 summers and 3 winters, I never saw any signs of that. It's crazy.
that's what they say about Rich Piana too, that it was the street drugs that got him.
Yeah, well, when Rich was found dead, there was a whole bunch of stuff around him, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Meth and cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sad.
Hey, I have a question. I'm sure you totally know about the saturation stuff Milos is talking about, how you saturate pre, during, after workout with insulin. I think that's how our friend Phil here, you know, built his body. We always argue all the time. Phil, you were totally big on insulin and not training really good.
Right.
That was a secret, huh?
Yeah, I can't
exactly
see Phil
how,
doing it.
It's exactly how your physique looked like, to be honest. So how you feel about that?
As far as insulin?
Yeah.
I mean, insulin is the strongest hormone we could take, right? I mean, it mimics the strongest hormone in our bodies. Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, we all know the reason for the mass monsters in the 90s was the insulin and the GH, but, you know, adding the insulin and the GH. I wasn't really, it hit me too quick, whether it was human log or human. So for example, I would work out, and I would work out incredibly intense. I mean, it was always progressive overload every single day for 28 straight years. I mean, I don't know how to train any other way. So then I would take the insulin after I trained. I would have, remember the old Ultra Fuels in the glass? The Ultra Fuel, the drinks, they came in a glass. So it was about 100
Ultra
grams.
Fuel. You could buy it in a supplement store.
Twin Lab. Yeah, Twin Lab.
Twin Lab, yeah.
Twin Lab. So I would have that. That was 100 grams of carbs. And then I had the old Vitargo before it was released in the US, the one from Europe. So I would have 2 scoops of that, which was 75 grams of carbs. So altogether, about 250 grams of carbs and about my 50 grams of protein. And even with the human, you know, I would still get hit again with a sugar spike within like 30 minutes, you know, and sometimes 15 to 20 minutes. So insulin used to hit me too quickly. But when I used it, yeah, I would go up in weight. I would go up 10, 15 pounds of weight like in 2 weeks.
It drives me often insane when I get a new athlete talking to me, and then you know, they show me what they took, you know, the steroid program, I take GH, but then I hear statements like, "But insulin I will never take," you know.
Yeah.
So I always find that quite amazing, that all this stuff, which probably in the long run will kill you, but then you won't take advantage of the most powerful hormone there is. You know?
I'll take 2,000 milligrams of test, but I won't take 6 IUs of G of
Yeah.
It's where you know, I hear often, you know, in 99 my physique started changing, and I started to build up a lot of visceral fat. And you know, a lot of people blame that on GH or insulin, and it was none of that. It was simply overeating, constant overeating,
I was about to say that.
You know, with the wrong food choices. You know, that was that, you know. And in 98 was the first time I couldn't hold diet. You know, I was dieting pretty much from 93 till 98, doing 2 shows a year as an amateur and then as a pro. And then 97, I did the Olympia and did fairly well. And I wanted to go right back to the Arnold Classic. I thought I have a good shot, you know, although then Flex came in one of his best shapes since 93 in 98. But I thought I have a very good shot, at least beating Nasser. Turned out not to be true. But I placed 4th, he placed 2nd. So something in prep, I couldn't hold diet. I was a total mess mentally. And I started, my brain started to play tricks on me. And every morning or every other morning, I went to a breakfast buffet near the airport, eating a ton of food, bread, all kinds of stuff. And I felt like it's the right thing to do for some reason. I manipulated myself. And then I was sitting 6-7 hours on the bike. And at the end, for some reason, I was hard, but you could see for the very first time, you know, there is a visceral fat buildup in my, you know, over my organs on the lower stomach area. And then I kept going with, I used a little bit more insulin and kept going with tons of pasta after the workouts. And then in 99, when I started the prep, my physique was destroyed, but it had absolutely nothing to do with insulin or GH itself. You know, it was clearly.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
You know? Yeah.
So, Fakhri, I got a question. And I was going to ask you this at the beginning before when we start talking about Phil Heath. Not to take anything from how you looked, but when you first saw Phil, what did you think? Did you think, oh my God, who is this guy, or what was the talk?
All right, so in 2003, I finished 4th in nationals.
Okay.
Chris Drim won his pro card finally that year. Rock Shabazz was 2nd, and Curtis Bryan was 3rd. And that I decided that was going to be my last show. So in the middle of summer 2004, I said, you know what, I'm gonna give this one more shot. When I was prepping for the USA's, when Phil won junior nationals, I was 228 pounds. Junior nationals is in June. USA's is in the end of July. I was ready. I was ready to come in as a heavyweight. I mean, I was ready. I was ready to come in as a heavyweight. And then he won junior nationals in the heavyweight class. He was signed to Weider. He was signed to Weider before junior nationals, I believe it was. So it was sort of a decision to drop down to light heavyweight because I knew I could win light heavyweight at 5'5". You know, so I said, you know what? I said I don't want to battle, you know, politics, right? I don't want to battle, you know. I was still new to the sport too. You know, I have friends that, you know, that are very influential in the sport, but I just didn't want to battle, you know, the politics. So I dropped down to light heavyweight. I knew I was going to win right away. I mean, the minute at the weigh-in, I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, I got them. So after the show, Phil flew to Woodland Hills to shoot for Weider. I stayed in Vegas to shoot for MD. And then I flew to California. I think it was Monday or Tuesday after shooting for MD. So me and Phil became really good friends once I got to California. We did the photo shoots at Milos Gym, Coliseum. And that night we're talking and to answer this was to answer your question. He looks at me and he goes, I guess this is between me and you for years to come. And I knew how good I was. And Phil was still young. He didn't have the maturity. And I looked dead at him and I said, nope. I said, you're going to be one of the greatest of all time. You know, Phil has those green eyes, right? So those big green eyes looked at you.
Yeah.
Looked at me, and he goes, what? I said, you're going to be one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I know you. You know, I know you are.
But to put you in his category had to have been something to hear that from him.
Yeah, I mean, I listen, I if you tell me, could you have beaten this guy and that guy, I'll be very honest with you and I'll tell you the truth. I was never going to be Phil. I just wasn't. I wasn't going to be Jay. I just wasn't. You know, I think, you know, once I would have made the Olympia every single year, and I would have qualified. I would have won pro shows. I mean, I used to go to shows, and I was, you know, I wasn't even prepping for shows, and I was always in shape. I was in shape at 260, 270, 280.
Wow.
245, 250. I was walking around already, you know, a month out. So I knew I would have made the Olympia like every year, you know, and I would have won shows, but I can't compare myself to Phil. Absolutely no way. I just can't, because to me, Phil is the second best bodybuilder of all time. First is Ronnie, and the second is Phil. You know, I can't. I don't do errors because you know, a bodybuilder looks a certain way, right? So if you take that bodybuilder, like for example Arnold, if you take Arnold's physique and you put him in the NPC Nationals, he's not going to win NPC Nationals this year.
Right.
So I have to go by the actual look. You know, and you can't say we cannot say that bodybuilding always evolves because nobody's Ronnie Coleman. And Ronnie's first Olympia was 1998. You know, so Ronnie's still the greatest of all time, no matter what. And to me, Phil has bought the second best physique of all time. And
it would have been interesting to see Phil's best next to Dorian's 93 shape.
Oh yeah.
You know,
That'd be a good battle.
Yeah. I know Dorian didn't have the 3D look, but he's way bigger than Phil. That would have been very, very interesting.
So Dorian's my favorite bodybuilder of all time because of the way he trained, his mentality,
Mhm.
you know, and what he was. I got to really, I got to hang out with Dorian after, after his career was over. You know, he's a great guy. You know, but to me, Dorian is my favorite bodybuilder because he was Mr. Olympia. You know, when I started following bodybuilding and his mindset and everything else, and I guess his connection with Mike Menza, was also something I loved.
Mhm. Mm.
How do you see this going in the next, from the people we have right now in the top 10 in the next 2 or 3 years?
It's getting better, right? I mean,
Yeah.
bodybuilding is exciting again.
Of course, we got to ask about Nick Walker. What do you think?
Well, Nick is always going to be competitive because Nick has that freak factor, right? The thing with Nick is if you put somebody next to him like a Derek, like a Hadi, like a Samson, they just have better symmetry overall, right?
I would say better structure as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the structure, that's what bodybuilding is, right? If you put a perfect structure together, you have the wide shoulders, small waist, flared up, quads. So that's Nick's battle. That's what he has to battle every single year, But
obviously he's putting extreme effort in the last year and a half to get his midsection as small as possible. You think it's for him to have a shot on the right day, depending on how everybody looks, you think it's the right thing for him to do, or should he just go in full-blown hard, big, and have a better chance this way to win?
See, if he downsizes to bring his symmetry in more and his waist down, he's given up his strength, which is his freakiness. So if him and his coach could find a way how to get him bigger, which they have, right? Because Nick's body has changed, his shape has gotten better since he turned pro, since he won the New York Pro, since he won the Arnold. They've done a great job. If they could keep finding a way how to keep his waist small and bring everything else up, that's his strength. But to downsize Nick, he's gonna lose what makes him, Nick Walker himself.
Yes,
I agree.
Phil, let me ask you something. As you probably remember pretty well, Gaspari was I think second 4 years in a row or so.
Yes, and
he came in with totally different looks. The one in Sweden, he blew up like crazy.
Right.
And then other years he came in smaller. He just really tried. What do I do? When you compare now his more downsized version to that version he broke in Sweden, where he was a little bit more watery but way bigger.
Right.
Which one you think gave him a better chance?
I think in 85, 86, and 87. What was it, 85? His first, second place to Lee Haney, or was it 86?
Yeah, 85 was in Belgium, huh?
Okay, I think 85, 86, well, I want to say 86, 87, and 88 were his best years. His best year was the last year in LA at the 88 Olympia.
Yeah.
And that was one of his best conditions. 87 was just as good. It was the 87 Olympia. I think that was in Sweden.
Yeah, I think that was his best shot when he was bigger. I kind of disagree with you on that.
It's kind of hard to say. I would say when he downsized from the 83 Nationals, he was 5th place behind winner that year at the 85 Nationals, or 84 Nationals, I'm going to say 84, was Mike Christian. And I think he took 5th that year. Now he downsized, came in and won the Nationals in his class, I believe in 84. I'm getting my years mixed up. He won the 84 Nationals. I think in 83, he competed against Bob Paris, won that year. And he took 5th behind Paris. It was Christian, Liedermeyer, and Matt Mendenhall.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he downsized. And then he won his class a year later. And then he got a little bigger, but he kept his waist smaller. 86, 87, and 88. And then I think he had a pec tear after that. And he never came back the same in 87.
Yeah.
So he placed 4th, and from there he dropped below that.
Yeah, I'd be very interested what Nick and his coach, which I both really like, and what they're going to come up with. You know.
Yeah.
What about Dauda? You think he's could be the Olympia this year?
Absolutely, man. I mean, that guy is 280 pounds. You know, his symmetry is incredible. His structure is incredible. Yeah, I mean, and he's young, right? How old is Samson?
Oh, he's in his early 30s.
Yeah, I mean,
he has a good chance.
Yeah. Well, he was just on a podcast saying that if he improves his back, Hadi and Derek can't beat him.
Right. I agree.
It has to be maybe a little bit harder to beat Hadi. Yeah.
Or harder overall. Yeah. Especially from the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hadi's stone, man. Hadi's ridiculously hard. I mean, Hadi has that grainy look.
I don't see anybody beating him for a couple of years at least.
A couple of years, easily.
I can agree with you,
A couple of years easily.
Really quick, what about Rami?
The scorecard was very close this year.
Yeah.
If you look at the Olympia scorecard, it wasn't straight.
It was close. It was close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, really quick, Big Rami. What do you think?
If he could come back, if he could, do
you think he can?
I mean, he looked a lot better at the Arnold than he did at the Olympia.
Yeah.
If he could just, I mean, they're talking about the stem cells and everything else that they did between the Olympia and the Arnold. He looked better. He didn't break down.
Yeah.
So can he get better? The thing with Rami is that how long has he been around? He's been around for a long time. People don't realize that.
10 years.
Yeah. Well, that's my question is, without looking historically, has anybody come back after placing that far back?
No.
Let
me ask you this. Do you think the judges look at him now and they don't consider him a top runner?
No, I don't think that's the case.
No.
Okay. No. I think that's the case. Not yet. Not yet.
Mm-mm.
I mean, if he would have never came back the way he did at the Arnold, maybe. But he showed at the Arnold that he could fix somewhat of what went wrong at the Olympics. I mean, those holes in his legs, they were there. You know, how did he fill them up? I mean, the stem cells worked because he didn't have them at the Arnold.
Yeah, those were weird. I've never seen that before.
What was that? Do you have any idea what that was?
I don't know. People talk about side injections and stuff like that, but when you side inject a muscle that big, it's not. If it's gonna puff up like that, it would be some type of fluid. Because like escalene or Novatol, it wouldn't work on a muscle that big, right? It wouldn't create a crater like that either.
You think there's a possibility they filled those holes with like that filler PMA?
It could be. It could be. Yeah, it could be.
No telling.
Away from bodybuilding, since you're a New Yorker, do you watch any playoff stuff like hockey or basketball or anything like that?
I'm a huge Yankee fan. I'm a big time Yankee fan. Yeah. I'm a big time Knicks fan too this year because they finally turned it around. I don't like the Knicks owner. I think he doesn't do enough for the team. Even though he owns the Rangers and the Rangers always do well. I don't know with the Knicks. They've had bad luck, but they're in the playoffs. They're doing well.
Yeah. How about the Jets? They got Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean that's exciting. I'm an Eagles fan, man.
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an Eagles fan. I've been an Eagles fan since the 80s.
Oh God! Well, I won't tell you that. I won't tell you I'm a Cowboys fan.
Oh my Lord! There we go. We got the Giants, the Eagles, and the Cowboys all in the East.
Oh boy! Yeah.
Hey, Fakhri, the first time I saw you in a magazine, you were doing an ad. What supplement company was that for? We're going way back.
My first contract was with Cytodine Nutrition. That was my first contract. The one with
you also did an ad. Was it Muscle Tech?
I was with Muscle Tech too for a while.
Okay, that showed a picture of you as a young man. You would have been
before and after. Was it a before and after picture?
It may have been because I'm thinking back. I'm going back to the magazines, so I'm going back
right.
like 20 years ago, maybe longer than that.
We're not that old, Phil. Stop it.
What's a magazine? I've never even heard of it.
What are you talking about? A magazine? Yeah, I think that was Cytodine Nutrition. That was my first contract.
Okay.
Contracts changed tremendously between my era and when you were kind of at your top. how did the supplement contract in the early mid 2000s look like?
I mean, we were still there's a difference between having a sponsorship and an endorsement. And endorsement is when you get paid, right? You know, for me, when I was approached when I was younger about sponsorships, I found out the sponsorships were a box of supplements, a couple of proteins, and that was it. So I never took a sponsorship. So my first contract, all my contracts have been endorsements. But yeah, they were paying well because remember there was still the magazines around and they were selling big. So the magazines would work. I'm sure it worked the same way with you. You know, you got a magazine deal with either Weider and MD, and then the supplement company would pay for the advertising space. So it would actually give you the double contract would be which would be the publication and the supplement contract. So yeah, we were doing okay. I mean, it's not like now. You know, now there's not that much opportunities. The best athletes are always going to get paid the most, right? But you know, if we made $50,000-$60,000 back then, it was pretty good. Yeah, I mean they're not even offering out that now. You know,
Wow.
when we were with Muscle Tech, everybody was making like $50,000-$60,000, and they had like 13, 14 athletes at the time.
Yeah, well, they had the market. They had the market back then.
I remember that.
Yeah, Muscle Tech was everywhere.
I remember that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think from what I know during my time, the top Weider contract, everybody had pretty much, or the top guys, the same contract, with the exception that if you win, they doubled your money.
Wow.
So everybody had exactly, but you know, it included, you couldn't talk to any other magazines or you couldn't sign any other, contracts with any other supplement companies. But everybody had pretty much exactly the same, or then got less, contract. I think the first really, really big contracts came a little bit later, with Ronnie and then Jay.
Ronnie with BSN. That was the first really huge contract with BSN.
Because nobody other than Dorian, which he doubled his money, got more than I think $80,000-$90,000 from Weider a year. But it was a lot more money in the 90s than it is now. But that was it.
I heard Victor Richards was getting $100,000.
I heard that. I heard the same thing. And he never had to compete. And when he
Yeah.
did turn pro, you know what he won, right?
Nigeria.
Exactly.
Nigeria, yeah.
You see the guys he competed against, they look like
Of course.
NBA basketball players.
Yeah, well, he went there to guest pose. From what I know, he went there to guest pose, and they said, "Well, you have a Nigerian citizenship, just do the show." You know,
Right. Okay.
he was the largest man I've ever seen in person. He was ridiculously incredible, man.
Yeah, we were good friends back in the 80s. I met him when he was 19 years old. And I walked up to him, I saw him in Go's gym, and I said, "What have you won?" He goes, "I never competed." He goes, I said, "You don't mind me asking, how old are you?" He said, 19. And I'm like 21. And I went, 19.
Was he training with the Barbarian Brothers back then?
He was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't serious training. It wasn't real high intensity training. They were just sparking about. You know what I mean? It was crazy stuff.
That's crazy, man.
Those guys were all strong. All three of them were massively strong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, those guys were crazy strength.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't train with them. They're too strong for me.
Yeah, Frost brought him to Switzerland in the 80s or early 90s. This was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, the guy was a total freak.
Yeah. Do they still talk about Victor with bringing the gun or something like that? I know that they were all battling over that.
Oh, and Go's gym.
Yeah, about him. Did he shoot off a round or something like that?
They say
Richards?
that. That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I think who's the one I think Valentino actually is the one that started that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's in Ed Connor's book or not.
Maybe it is. But I know him and Greg are going back and forth at it about him.
Yeah.
Talking about the gun thing.
Oh my God. That's crazy. I gotta read up on that.
Yeah.
So you've been in New York all your life?
Yeah, so I was born in New York. Yeah, I mean, I've lived in Florida, I lived in the Dominican Republic. But yeah, I mean, I'm a New Yorker. You know, am I gonna live here forever? I don't want to, but you know, I have a house in Pembroke. I have a house in Weston. I have two houses, one in Weston and one in Pembroke Pines.
That's a nice area.
So, yeah, both of them are nice areas. Weston is especially nice.
I think that's where Bumstead's down in that area.
In Weston or Pembroke?
Or Pembroke down in close to that. Yeah.
So I lived in the neighborhood right next to Vince Taylor.
Vince Taylor.
Oh, wow.
He's
Okay.
from Pembroke Pines now, right?
Pembroke
Yeah.
Pines,
Yeah, he's
I
got-
lived in-
yeah.
I lived in the development right next to him. For a
Yeah,
couple
he's
of
down in
years.
that area.
Yeah, he was a big dude too.
Yeah.
He still looks good, man.
It was good.
Still does.
He's got the massive arms. Well, you know, he's got those what are they called for the workouts that he does, the balls.
Oh, the balls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. For his age,
Well-
his arms are crazy.
Yeah.
He was a good. I mean, he started competing late, but he was really great. He won. He won the first couple of Masters Olympia, right?
Yeah, he did.
First one that they had.
I think he won 6.
Mm-hmm.
They had that many. Shit, I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. First one I think was Robbie Robinson.
Right.
That's right. Robbie Robinson.
Yeah.
won the first-
94.
I thought.
The design-
I wonder why Victor Martinez isn't doing it.
Not enough money.
I would say that. There you go.
Yeah,
I would
'cause he
say
still looks
not
good.
enough money.
He told me that himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
I
sense.
just
makes sense.
texted him a couple weeks ago and I asked him that question. He goes, "You know how Victor is?" He goes, "Yo, bro, there's not enough money." I was like, "Yeah, you're right."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I don't have anything else, guys. Fakhri,
Yeah,
man.
that was great.
Appreciate it.
That was great. That was so happy to meet you. You know.
Thank you, sir.
Great
Yeah,
podcast, man. Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
I
on.
love. Everybody loves these stories, man. We got to do it again.
I'll be more than happy. Just let me know, man. It was
Okay.
an honor to be on, guys. Thank you very much.
Hey, let me ask you a last question. I heard you had over 100 of your clients turn pro. Is that true?
115.
Turn pro.
115 I've turned pro, over
Nice.
3,000 NPC wins, and 22 IFBB wins, pro wins.
Yeah,
That's
Wow.
amazing, man. That's got to be a record.
that's crazy.
I think so. I don't know. I mean, you know, but we got to keep going, though. We got to keep going. We need more wins. We
Hey
need
Phil,
more
that
wins.
was all one show. That
Yeah,
100 cards in one show.
Hey, man, I tell you what, with the high intensity training I've taken clients through,
Yeah.
they don't stay around very long.
No, you know, I was going to mention that earlier. You know, that to me, that's the ultimate system of training. But the problem with that is, you know, it's very difficult for somebody to push themselves that hard every single workout, week after week, month after work, you know, month after month, year after year. And that's the reason why people shit on it, because they say it can't work. It's not that it can't work, it's that the mind gives up. So, you know, once your mind gives in or gives up in anything, you're done, right? Your body could give up, but the minute your mind gives up, you're done. And that's in anything in life. You have to have the mindset to want to be the best. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the problem.
And I see sometimes people when they come to train with me, you know, and I have athletes that come to Palm Springs, they really think they train hard, you know, till you see it. There's this, it's the mind which is not connecting what really, what it means, muscle failure, you know.
Yeah.
Muscle failure doesn't mean I kind of really feel it now, you know.
No.
Yeah, I think the best one I ever heard explaining was Dorian in an interview with an English journalist, where the guy said to him, well, everybody claims they're training hard, but you know, you're famous for you trained the hardest, you outworked people. I mean, how do you know? You know, Dorian said to him, the journalist just had a baby recently. He said, "Did you not just have a baby?" He said, "Yes, I had a baby." He says, "Okay, think of this, guy. You're on a hacksmith machine, and somebody puts a gun on your baby's head, and if you leave any rep on the table, just a half a rep, he will shoot the baby. That's how I do every set." The guy was in total shock looking at him, guy. Yeah. But so
Yeah, you can't talk like that anymore. Everybody gets offended.
Yeah.
I got to be careful. I don't want to get my YouTube shut down. We got to
There
careful.
you go.
as we know, that just happened to one of the biggest channels, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Phil and I were talking about that. Dave Palumbo had one of his shows pulled.
no way.
So they
Yeah.
didn't really give him any explanation. What do you think what it was? Because I have my own theory on it.
We're talking about Nick.
Other than BS.
Mick Trigilli. I think when Phil and I were talking about, I think he had more than one person get together and they filed a complaint.
Absolutely, 100%.
And then he was like he said that he was kicked off YouTube before.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, they
Briefly.
claimed it was from
That was when Fuwa.
back from 2020.
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't want to give him an example. I think, once you, even, that case recently, he was really pushing, once you start talk about women's butts and stuff, although I agree with everything he said on it, we know what case he was talking about it. I think in today's world, you're on really thin ice,
Yeah.
Well, he was attacking a lot of people's personal lives, and and I'm not saying some of his content is really good. So,
right.
But when you start going after people's personal lives, they're not going to like that too well.
No.
Well, let's not do that here, huh?
No, we don't do that.
No. Don't
It's
do
also, it's also the more successful you are, the more haters you have, right? So they're gonna go
there
after
you go. That's true too.
Heavy as a crown, right? The
Ask
better
Trump.
you are in anything,
Ask Trump. They go after him.
Yeah.
Anyways. All
Okay,
right,
guys, I gotta go get back to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Fakhri, thank you much.
Thank you
All
again,
right.
guys. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Appreciate it,
talk
man.
to you soon. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Take care.